So today we're going to talk about trade theory. I think you guys know, like when Donald Trump was the president, he kind of started the trade war with China, and so we are going to kind of talk about the trade theories, like why, a lot of economists believe free trade is good for us, for people, okay? But why, different countries, they do different things, okay? So we will start with the little bit boring theory first. So, but before we start, let's see, let's look at the, when we talk about trade, we have exporting and importing. Exporting means you sell stuff to different countries, and then importing means you actually import something from different countries. So the top export countries in this is 2020 is China. Okay, they are actually a little bit almost double the amount than US, but US is number 2. And then we have 1.4. I think this is billion. Yeah. But 1 trillion? Is it trillion? Trillion, right? Yeah. I was counting it in Chinese and I was like, wait, what does that mean in English? So that's million, billion, trillion. Yeah, 1.4 trillion. And China is 2.5, over 2.6 trillion. And then Germany, Japan, Netherlands, Dutchland, Hong Kong, South Korea, Italy, France, Belgium. So when you look at Hong Kong, you actually need to add it to China because a lot of Chinese companies, they use Hong Kong as the port, especially the Chinese company near Hong Kong in Guangdong area, where they only, you just need to take a bridge or boat to cross and then go to that, the province. And so a lot of companies, they actually have factories in China, and then they put the company was registered in Hong Kong. So I think that's how it is. So this is the top 10 exporter, and then let's look at the. Oops. And let's look at importer. I think the top one you guys probably know. Oops. So how do I close it? So the top one import, you know, we can guess it's from US. How do I close this? This is so annoying. Okay, yeah. So this is Spanish. So Estados Unidos, United States, and then China, and then this is what is Renault window. So we have to use Spanish. Yeah, I'm guessing UK or Germany. What is Alemania? Germany. Okay. And then Japan. And what is Países Bajos? Hong Kong. This one. Hong Kong. And then this one is Korea, this Seoul, South Korea, Italian, Canada, Belgium, Mexico. So this is import, okay? Very similar to export, but you know, a little bit different in ranking. So we'll talk about now we are going to, you know, think about the trading. So how does that affect us? So a lot of times people they don't like international trade because most of the time because like if we for example US we import a lot of stuff, right? We are the top one country for importing. So when we import a lot of product, that means maybe a lot of jobs goes to other countries, right? So actually a lot of people lose jobs here, okay? So that's why sometimes some countries they don't really encourage trading, and then they put a lot of tariffs on the importing product, like you know what Trump did. What he did, I actually respect that because you guys know I'm from Taiwan, and you know we are like the opposite to we try to fight China. So I'm kind of happy that finally some country will fight China, but at the same time actually make our product price higher because of the tariff. Okay, so we are going to use the trade theory, try to explain why, you know, economies or people in business, usually we don't like any government intervention because usually any type of intervention means there will be some kind of price on top of consumer, okay? So there are several theories related to trade. The first one is called mercantilism. So that's a very old theory. And then we have absolute advantage and comparative advantage. We'll talk about all those, and then factor proportional theory, international product life cycle, new trade theory, and national competitive advantage. So the national competitive advantage is designed by Michael Porter, the same guy that brought up the five forces analysis. We'll talk about it later. So the mercantilism, it's like, remember it's from 16th century, okay? So it's when the country started to do trade. So when that happened, that time we probably a lot of nations trade with gold with the precious metal. Okay, so for those countries, what they want is they want to sell product to different countries and then get money, get gold or get silver back. So they want to have a surplus. They want to sell more than they import because that means they get to keep the money in their country, okay? And then they have strong government intervention. And usually they try to explore the colonies, like UK at that time, they had, I think they have so many colonies, like in India, even Australia, New Zealand, and well, a huge part of Africa. So those are all, you know, UK's colonies. And then Spain, they also have like a huge part of South America. That's why a lot of South American countries speak Spanish now, because, you know, they used to be the colonies of Spain. And then Brazil was colonies of Portugal. So does Macau was, you know, also part of Portugal. So because of that, you know, they try to, those countries, European countries, they try to expand. So they try to, you know, buy something cheap. Like I remember they bought a lot of spices from India, tea from India, and then ship it to all over the world. Okay, so so they believe at that time the world trade is zero-sum game. So that means that the more you sell to other countries, the more money you get for your country. That's good. Okay, but later on, like we see from the timeline, we have the absolute advantage or comparative advantage. So from those things, we realize that's not necessarily the case. So they believe that this zero-sum game, and they actually didn't try to help to develop the colonies economy, but they try to exploit their product. Okay, so they would buy something really cheap from, let's say, India, the tea, the Darjeeling tea from India. What's the famous British tea brand? No, there's a very famous British, like when we go to London or UK, we will buy tea. It's really nicely packed. I think it's TW something or the, huh? Yes. Yeah, so they become famous because they get the tea from India long time ago. So they got to develop, you know, they have the best tea. And so at that time, they don't really, they didn't think of like they can actually help to develop the colonies economy, and then it will actually help them as well. So at that time, you know, they just try to get something out of the colonies. So, and then we have the absolute advantage, okay? So in absolute advantage, we assume, you know, we use that to try to calculate it is actually good to have trade. So this, I made this up. So Taiwan and Japan, they you know, they assume these two countries. See, I purposely, we try to put in information like Taiwan is one country. But if I have Chinese students here, they'll be like, no, Taiwan is not a country. Taiwan is a special area belong to China. So we try to be sneaky in this kind of questions. When I was a PhD student, we used to have a lot of arguments. Like sometimes, like I remember one time in the accounting class, the professor asked us to present like the tax system in your country. So I select Taiwan, and when I show the map of Taiwan, and then introduce it, and then the next time when the Chinese student present, she actually introduced the China system, but in her map, she purposely include Taiwan. She said Taiwan is part of China. So we try to say two countries, Taiwan and Japan. Anyway, so in assuming they both have 200 units of resources, okay? We try to be vague, so, we know like it's like land or fertilizer or whatever labor you need. And they could be used to produce banana or peach, okay? Taiwan is famous to grow bananas. Japan, for some reason, Japanese loves bananas from Taiwan. Japanese loves bananas. And we love peach. And Japan has very good peach. Taiwan has very few because peach needs to be grown in a colder weather. Taiwan is a little bit too hot. So banana is the same. Banana is a tropical fruit. So Japan difficult to get. So it takes only 10 units of resources to grow banana, to grow 1 ton of banana in Taiwan. And it takes 20 tons. Yeah, 20 tons resources to grow peach. Okay. In Japan, it takes 40 tons of resources to grow 1 ton of banana, and then only 10 tons of 10 units of resources to grow 1 ton of peach. So in this case, if you compare two countries, Taiwan has absolute advantage to grow banana, right? They just need 10 units of resources. Japan has the absolute advantage in growing peach, okay? So when they do that, they could, Taiwan actually can produce 20 tons of banana, no peach, or 10 tons of peach, no banana, because we all have 200 units of resources, okay? And then, yeah, so like that. And then Japan, they can grow 5 tons of banana, no peach, 20 tons of peach, no banana, or any combinations between. So it's just like a linear program, okay, like a linear model. So it's just act like, just draw something really simple. So 10 to what? 10 and 20 and 10. So it's like this. So this is Taiwan. So this is peach, and this is banana. So they can grow either 20 tons of banana, 0 peach, or 10 tons of peach, 0 banana, or anything between here. Okay. And then Japan is similar, but oops. This is the only chunks they have left. So Japan, they will grow 5 tons of banana and then 20 tons of peach. Yeah. So this is 5 and then 20. This is peach. This is banana. So or anything here. Okay. So without trade, I'll show you the chart. So without trade, Taiwan can produce 10 tons of banana, 5 tons of peach. Okay, it's somewhere in between here. Okay, and then Japan can do also somewhere here. Okay, 10 tons of peach and then 2.5 tons of banana. So total production from two countries, 12.5 and then 15. But with trade, they could actually do better. Okay, they could actually, Taiwan can focus, just produce banana, and Japan can just produce peach. So if that's the case, when they add it up, they both, two countries have 20 tons of banana and 20 tons of peach. Okay, and they could trade 6 tons banana for 6 tons of peach. They still have surplus. Both will have surplus, more than if they produce, 10 plus 5, 2.5 plus 10, right? They will have 12.5. So they will have more. with trade. But what if one country had absolute advantages in both products? Okay, so that was, I mean, the competitive, yeah, absolute advantage. That means they do better in both. So let's say example. So Taiwan, instead of producing 20 tons of peach, they actually, I mean, instead of needing 20 units of resources, they just need 13.33, and Japan need 20. So in both products, in both produce, banana and peach, Taiwan has absolute advantage. They do better in both produce, okay? So Taiwan can actually make 20 tons of banana, no peach, or 15 tons of peach, no banana. Japan, 5 tons of banana, no peach, or 10 tons of peach, no banana, okay? So Taiwan is actually more efficient producing both banana and peach. So what should I decide? Yeah,
Taiwan does banana and Japan does peach. Because Japan does really badly with they use a lot of resources producing bananas, and Taiwan uses little. Well, Taiwan uses little in both. So you look at Japan. Japan produces peach the most efficiently.
okay, very good. So that's what we call comparative advantage. So you don't compare with other country, but you compare with yourself. Whatever you do better for within your country. So Taiwan actually do better with banana. So so they still produce 20 tons of banana, but here I should actually change it. It should be somewhere like here. So it's like, I think it's about 15. Could someone divide it, like use 200 divided by 13.33? Is it 15 or 16? 15, right? Yeah, so so this is the new equation. And for Japan, the new equation will be this would be like this. Would be 5 and then 10. Okay, like what you say. So so Taiwan should actually produce banana, and then Japan produce peach. You're right. Okay, and if they do that, they will still be better off compared to if they don't have trade, because Taiwan will produce 20 tons of banana, Japan will produce 10 tons of peach, and after they add up everything, they will still have extra. Okay, so they will still have more than, if only, like they only have 12.5 each, so they have 14 each. So that's why we believe, like theoretically, we think that actually, you know, companies should have trade, because actually it's better off for everybody, because we get to sell it to other country and we still have surplus. Okay. But in reality, okay, in reality, there are some, like we use very we have a lot of assumptions in our examples, right? Like we assume both countries have the same amount of resources, and we assume we can use 1 ton of banana exchange 1 ton of peach, which in reality it might not be the case, right? Some products are more expensive, and some products, how do you call that? Like they will go bad easily. Okay. So so it's actually a positive sum game. It's not zero sum game. It's actually helpful for the trade, but like I mentioned, they in this case, we're gonna have 2 countries, and then we did consider transportation costs, and we didn't consider other resources. And then, like I mentioned, sometimes the product might, go bad. So it will be, in reality, it's not as, that clear as in the theory, okay? But still, believe it's actually better to have international trade. And then later on, like there in the older theory, we only consider the resources we consider is labor. But then we have these two HO, I don't know how to pronounce their name, but they are two scholars, and they have this factor proportion theory. Okay, so countries produce and export products. They require resources like we mentioned before, but they would actually export the product require resources, yeah, and then import the product that require the resources in short supply. So in theory, labor and maybe land and capital. Okay, so they use some examples. Okay, so in theory, we are going to export something that we have a lot. Like in US, we have a lot of capital and we don't have a lot of laborers. So we will import the product that require laborers. Okay, and we export stuff require land or capital or even energy. Okay, but the paradox. So the Wesley Leontief, he argued that the HO theory didn't hold because actually US is very abundant in capital. Capital means money, but instead of exporting the capital intensive product, we actually import a lot of capital intensive product. Okay, that one reason is because when we say capital intensive, it's more like the AI type of industry nowadays, okay, or stock market, they require capitals, and people all over the world, the investor all over the world, they will invest in US stock market instead of, US actually invest, the US investor invest in other countries' stock market. Okay, so it's the other way around. So you need to understand that. So the trade patterns for other countries. So for Japan, let's say Japan was a labor abundant country, but they actually export capital intensive product, import labor intensive product. Okay, so the HO theory doesn't hold in Japan only in some case. And Canada also they export the capital intensive, and but they usually trade with US, so it's also not consistent with the HO. And then India, they export labor intensive, which consistent, but when they trade with US, they export to US capital intensive. So there are several explanations because US, they have very special advantage in the innovative technology, high tech. They are less capital intensive, and the differences in technology, make it different and then change the trade patterns. So that's why it's not consistent with the HO theory, where we're supposed to export something we have abundant resources and import something we don't have, you know. So it holds when we import other labor intensive product. Okay, but it doesn't hold, we actually export the capital intensive, we didn't. So so the product life cycle is to tell us that when we have new product, you know, in the beginning, you know, we will grow the sales, and then when it mature, it started to go down, okay? But, and then eventually, you know, will die down. But then when it started to drop, you know, we are going to sell it in a less developed country. So actually, it shows here, like we have some imports here, and then they have export, so it still keep growing because, you know, when it dropped, you know, we started to expand to other countries. But it was maybe in 1990s to early 2000, okay? Nowadays, it's different. Nowadays, we, I think when Apple started maybe iPhone 4 or 5, you know, anything before 5, they sell in certain market first. But then after that, I think 6, they usually start selling their product all over the world, pretty much at the same time, like on the same day. They take pre-order, but you know, they start selling them on the same day. Before, I remember iPhone 4 and 5, there will be a lot of Chinese. They will line up in the Apple store, and they will buy like several iPhone and then ship it. I don't know if you watch the news. Yeah, they ship it back.
Are they the same like phones? Like they're like the same thing.
Yes, but they don't sell it until like maybe a few weeks later. So that's why a lot of rich people, they will hire Chinese people to line up, like they will pay them $200 to buy the phone with cash. And then, you know, you just make $200 and then you give the phone to these people, and then the rich people, they are going to send it back to China. Some people, they give it as gift. It's like a privilege to have the phone early. And then some people will sell it at even higher price. Yeah, so that's the, so later on, Apple, you know,
I would
decided,
do that.
yeah. So Apple decided to, my brother told me to do that too. Like, he said, hey, do you want to buy the phone? And then he said some friends will offer him this price to get the phone. He can, it's not, we don't make $200, but because it's for friends, but
Right.
he would say, oh, do you want to get this? And I, you know, usually I'm too busy to do those kind of stuff. Yeah, so the new trade theory is we actually, the companies, they can gain by whatever they are good at, okay? And they expand their capacity and then they sell it to other countries so that they can lower their production costs by using the economy of scale, okay? And the companies enter the new market, usually they create the barriers to entry. So that's the case for the international business. Like when you go to India, you can only see Coke. You don't see Pepsi. But when you go to Japan, Pepsi is more dominant than Coke. So somehow it just act like that, okay? And so we have the first mover advantage when we talk about international expansion, okay? So somehow when you enter certain country, you gain the first mover advantage. So, and then a lot of times when you go in there first, you build relationship with the local government and they kind of help. So government might help by assisting the different countries. So this is the latest theory by Michael Porter, National Competitive Advantage. So he believes that there are 4 main categories. And then in the middle is the it's the country itself, competition. So we have factor condition. Factor means like different type of resources, labor, capital, even energy. Okay, and then we have demand conditions, whether or not this country has high demand, so that you can actually, when you build in that particular country, you can actually sell local. Okay, you don't need to worry about finding new market to sell the stuff. They already have the market there. And then related supporting industry, whether or not the proximity of the related supporting industry, whether or not it's in that nation, okay, in that country. And then we have the firm strategy, structure, and rivalries within the country. So these are the national competitive advantage. We also call the Porter's diamond frame. So the factor conditions, basic factors are, like we mentioned, the labors, the natural resources, even weather, okay, some different features. And then the best is resulting from the investing in education or innovation. So believe it or not, some countries, they actually invest in the education. I don't know if you guys heard of ecotourism or health tourism. Have you guys heard of it?
Yeah, I think you told us before.
Did I?
Yeah, where people go somewhere just for the hospital or.
Yes. So Costa Rica is the
I don't know when
country.
you told us something about you.
I don't remember where
I think it
I
was one of the first tests we had.
here.
Yeah, I think.
And why do I talk about it?
I don't remember.
International. I don't remember either. But
Yeah, I remember you talking about Costa Rica. Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, so they actually, I think I talk about that they actually gave
Oh,
up
so
the
they
national
went-
defense.
It was the day you went up to.
I don't remember. I'm too old to remember those things. So they actually, they don't have budget for national defense. They kind of give up, but think about their border with the Guatemala, they still have a lot of, riots and stuff. So they kind of say, let's forget about the army or, whatever, national defense. They put their money in education. So I think it's free to go to college in Costa Rica, even for the refugees from Guatemala, they go to school for free, okay? So they put their effort into education. People go to college for free, even for medical school. So they train a lot of medical experts. And then, they just use that to develop, the spatial tourism in their country. And then they are famous for that. And it's actually expensive to go to Costa Rica. You would think, they might be cheaper to go there, but it's actually similar. The restaurants or hotels are similar price in US. So it's actually expensive, but their construction is not, to me, it's not very well. The roads are like really bumpy. It takes forever to go somewhere that's not even that far, but because the roads are bumpy. But they believe there's
Marketing. Like they're really good at marketing tourism. It's not like they're better than a lot of like
Eco,
South American
eco.
companies, but they're-
yeah, they say they are eco-friendly, so they don't want too much development. I think that's just excuse to me, it's excuse. But people enjoy it, and their meat really tastes better. Their steak tastes much better because there's no pollution, and then it's like all natural. So, and then I remember we went to this restaurant, they have their own cows and then milk the cow, they make ice cream from the milk, everything from scratch. They even took us to their, how do you call that? The place where they plant all the vegetables.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, greenhouse. So in Chinese, we call something like warm room. I was like, no, it's not called warm. I never heard of that. So greenhouse. So they took us to greenhouse. They plant everything, indoor. And so things really taste different. Okay. Yeah. So so that's why they have like, they have different people, the countries, they put in different effort into different, stuff. So they actually make that Porter believe all these 4 categories will decide whether or not this country has advantage. Okay, so demand condition usually whether or not they have big enough population to support certain demand. Okay, so based on this diamond framework, okay, we found out there are 5 countries that has a competitive advantage for us to invest in. Those are the famous BRICS country. You guys know what BRICS countries are? BRICS, yes.
So Russia, India, China,
South Africa. Okay, so those are the bigger, more populated countries. Okay, so from his framework, but there is we won't talk about that. But there is exception for that. Okay, for the BRICS, for the Porter's national advantage framework. So, for example, Singapore very small, no resources, not a lot of supporting industry in the country because it's very small. Literally, it takes you 90 minutes to go to circle the country. It's just like I think it's even smaller than New York City. You guys can check it out. The area of Singapore is similar. It's like the size of some city, but not big city like New York. Maybe I don't even know. Maybe Israel, Chicago. I think Chicago is bigger than Singapore. So it's very small. Okay. So, but they are still very successful in terms of companies investing in Singapore because Singapore knows they don't have those resources. So they try to make everything easy and transparent for the government. So Singapore has very low corruption index, like everything is very clear and they have very strict law in terms of corruption. If the officials committed corruption, or something related to that, they will be punished really, really bad. Okay, so different countries, they will focus on different things, but the Porter's national community framework didn't work in certain small countries without any resources. Okay, I mean, not without any resources, with very minimum resources, rare resources, and it still work, and then not a huge population as well, but it's still, their economy is still very good because different other reasons. So there are exceptions for all these theories. And is this accurate?
I think so.
Oh, okay, good. So I can actually look at.
startup stories, association, ownwork.net. This could be beyond connecting people to transform the world. Similarly, a man was born in 1865 in a paper mill in southwest Finland. It was considered as one of the most successful and important Fortune 500 companies. That is a name that revolutionized the world of communication and has ruled the food market for so many years. But things took a drastic turn. This video was not just being thrown from its position, but it was vanished from the game itself. We take a look at the rise and fall of one of the most loved mobile brands in the world, Nokia.
Ketchup. Like it very. Oh, I love this phone.
Known as Modern Mobile Phone. The company built the first international mobile phone network in 1981. This was the beginning of the mobile era. Nokia DX200, their first digital telephones, was put into operation a year later. What began as a simple idea slowly started manifesting into a major mobile revolution. Nokia launched Nokia Drop-in Portable Phone. Later in 1987, the world saw Nokia City, which was the first handheld phone. In 1991, when the concept of GSM came into existence, Nokia's equipment was put to use to make the first GSM call, and what followed later disrupted the entire mobile market. In the year 1992, Nokia's first GSM handset, the Nokia 1011, hit the market, and it became an instant hit. The popular trademark Nokia tune was launched, and the Nokia 2100 series was the first handset to have this added signature tune. The first ever satellite call was made using a Nokia GSM phone. 4 years later, in 1998, Nokia became the world leader in mobile phone market. Innovation continued along with untiring research. The year 2002 saw the first ever 3G enabled phone, Nokia 6650. Later in 2003, with the launch of Engage mobile game, it further pierced its market among youth, and this series became a praise among the youngsters. With such consistency and market leadership, there was no other way but going further up on the table. But for Nokia, it was completely different. It was stepping on to ending it. Then, it had built with several years of perseverance and hard work. Launch of Android and iOS phones, the market for Nokia started diminishing, and thus began the fall of one of the world's largest mobile phone producers. Well, Nokia, like other smartphone pioneers, saw the revolution come. But it fell down as Apple flipped the mobile industry upside down with the launch of iPhone in 2007. Later, Google Android-enabled smartphones arrived in 2008 with a lot of innovative features, which further left Nokia Symbian as a traditional OS. But it all started even before Apple launched an iPhone. Nokia was forced into one of the world's largest product recalls. The batteries in 46 billion phones were bought. What followed after that was something that Nokia never imagined would happen. Nokia slowly started going down in the market. Just a year, Nokia reported a 30% fall in third quarter profits, and smartphone sales fell by 3.1% during the quarter, while sales of Apple iPhones grew by 327.5%. Later, Nokia announced to cut 1,700 jobs worldwide as the recession badly hit mobile phone sales. While competitors' iPhone and Android-based devices were posing a serious challenge to Nokia's future, it had to opt for desperate measures, which appointed former Microsoft man Steve Ballmer as president and chief executive of Nokia. But despite that, Nokia further went down as it fired 1,800 people from their jobs. Later in the year 2011, Nokia announced its increasing partnership with Microsoft to compete with Apple and Google's Android platform. But still, things were not firmly placed for Nokia as the losses of the company further widened. Shares kept falling down as it slumped to a 1.3 billion euro loss. And since it further cut down 10,000 old jobs worldwide and announced that its last factory will also be shut down. 2030, Microsoft acquired Nokia at $7.2 billion. This acquisition showed the world just how far advanced Nokia fell in the recent years. What happened to Nokia is no secret. Nokia was at its heart a hardware company, not a software company. Its engineers were experts at building physical devices, but not the programs that made those devices work. In the end, the company profoundly underestimated the importance of software, including the apps that download software for better user experience. It wasn't just that Nokia failed to recognize the increasing importance of software, it also underestimated how important the transition to smartphones would be. And there was another mistake as well. Nokia overestimated the strength of its brand, and they strongly believed that even if it was late to the smartphone game, it would be able to catch up quickly. And thus, even after the iPhone's release, Nokia continued to insist that its superior hardware designs would win over the users. However, Nokia never realized that it was taking its own claim. And it had to settle to its faulty decision. From making rubber boots in a power to leading the world in the mobile phone market, Nokia failed to meet the challenges posed by Android and iPhone. In 2008, Nokia was believed as one of the most valuable brands in the world, but it failed to recognize that brands today aren't as resilient as they once were. The high-tech era has taught people to expect constant innovation. When companies fall behind, consumers are quick to punish them. Late and inadequate for Nokia was a deadly combination, and that's now an undisputable future turned to that. The closure of the most loved electronic brand left millions shattered, ready for its return ever since. And as the saying goes, if you wish for something with all your heart, it shall come true, and Nokia was no exception. In the next episode of Startup Stories, learn about Nokia's rise from the dead and its planned return in 2017.
Have you guys heard of Nokia?
I had one.
You had one when?
Now it's seventh grade. This is my first phone.
What kind of phone?
It was like the one that had the keyboard below the small screen.
Is
was
it a
good.
smartphone?
No. It was a,
2007.
it's probably like 2010. Probably.
Okay.
It was a good phone.
They had the last phone I remember is called like Lumiere or Lumix or something. Have you guys? But before that, before iPhone, I was a very loyal Nokia customer. When I go to phone, like to get a new phone, I only look at Nokia's phone. And they have this game called Snack something. I don't know if you play that. They have this, So unfortunately, they just kind of, even till today, even though it says next episode, I'm not going to play that because I don't think anybody except for him, anybody own Nokia? Yeah, because when you guys are old enough to have phone, you probably already have iPhone or Android. So yeah, so that's something that Nokia that I think they didn't really understand what happened, but we can look at what we learned from today, the new trade theory and competitive advantage theory. They were able to benefit from the innovation. In the beginning, they were really popular because their design is really nice. Like when we had the old cell phone, no smartphone functions. I remember, let me see if I can find it. I don't think you guys saw ever saw that phone, but the phone was made of aluminum and it looks so nice. And it's like you slide the Nokia, I think it's AA something. Try this one. Oh yeah. Look. So it's very small, and then it's aluminum, and then it feels like, and you get to you can open it, and then just like this, like you open like this, and it's very smooth. and then you can close it. Okay, so this was like very popular. So after this phone, you know, I don't want to use any other phone. And so it was,
You still have it today.
no,
And
I
there
don't
they-
even remember where I put it. But it was when I was in Taiwan, so it was before
Is
2000.
it durable?
Yeah, it was before 2002. It's very old, so they were very popular. Everybody wanted this phone, and it was expensive. It was at that time, you know, it's very expensive. It's not a free.
How expensive is the phone?
It's not, of course, not as
Yeah, yeah.
expensive as $1,000 like Apple, but it's, you know, in like early 2000 or maybe late 1990s. It was, I remember it was like 15,000 Taiwanese dollars, or about $500, $500 US. And, you know, we still want to own it, but it was really nice. Yeah, so what happened? So when we look at this, in the beginning, you know, their design was very good, but unfortunately the technology, you know, they don't grow like that. The technology just jump to another level, and they couldn't. I remember when I was in Tennessee, which is between 2010 to 14. I remember they launched smartphone. It looks nice, but and they say they have this nice commercials say that their camera is really good. They take very good picture, but they had
Somebody left the book.
okay.
Go get it?
Yeah, you can look at it. But they put their commercial for a smartphone. They have huge commercial on newspaper. I remember I don't see like, you know, you don't see the commercial from the app or something. They buy a lot of commercial on newspaper, like this huge page to show their phone. I was like, you know, it doesn't match with the new technology. At that time, we already start reading news from the phone, and they still put huge commercial on the newspaper. So I guess, and then using foreign nations competitive advantage, Finland, they don't really have, you know, strong phone service. Okay, so the demand is not as strong as like US or China. And then they don't have the national monopolies. They have so many countries to share the technology, to share the market. And so the government like Finland, they to them, you know, they believe they encourage Nokia to build their phone overseas. And they didn't really put a lot of effort in the innovation and stuff. So that's the main reason. We believe that's the main reason. But I think it's just very difficult for Nokia. And then at that time, you know, it's just it's unfortunate. I still remember those days that we are crazy for Nokia. But at the same time, I don't know how many of you have Apple. And do you have the thought to switch? You started, no, not at all. I started to have the thought to switch, but I have, like, I think I told you, I have iMac, I have MacBook, I have iPad. Everything is Apple. It's very difficult for me to switch. So, so that's it for today. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Okay.
Have a good day.